Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to go and do our daily technical analysis, update of commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, and precious metals and ETFs that I follow. I'll interject my financial opinions as we go through it. And if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. That's where I dive deeper into these sectors, into these companies to find great opportunities. So let's dive in. Let's take a look and see what's going on in the markets. We've got the DXY. That's where we're starting. And we're getting a strong bounce today in the dollar, up 0.43%. We've got a lot of support close underneath us, all through here, crisscrossing below us. The momentum is still to the downside, and we'll see if we have a reversal here. It is a reversal candlestick. It is known as a bullish piercing candlestick. It gaps down and closes above the 50th percentile for the momentum heading to the upside. So if you were to look at this, we had downside momentum, bottomed out, and we have been coming back up throughout the day. So we've got a potential reversal, so we could go sideways or higher with this candlestick that we've got today. Looking at yields, and a lot of the strength of the dollar or DXY comes from yields. Yields are moving on up. The US 2-year is at support, and we want to see what kind of movement we are going to get in this yield. Are we going to bounce off support and move on up, or are we just going to get a bounce and roll on over? That's what we have to wait and see. A slowdown in the market, generally people run into bonds, 2 years specifically. And if we do have a slowdown, we would see this pull back down to an area somewhere down here. If there is no slowdown and we are going to head higher because people are worried about inflation, and that is more of an importance than it is on the slowdown. So inflation overwhelms the slowdown. Think of it as stagflation. This will bounce back within the pattern and eventually break the pattern to the upside. We don't know which direction it's going to break yet. We do not have a clear breakthrough here. So we're waiting and we're watching and seeing. So recession, downward. If we have a stagflation where inflation is still a big problem, we could see this turn upward. 10-year yield, we're up about 1% today. We're in that line of potential support. So, we could still easily get back within the pattern, but momentum is still to the downside right now. Again, we'll need a couple more trading days to see which direction we're finally going to end up going. And then the 30-year is still inside the pattern. Still looks good to go in either direction. I would say it's favorable for an upside move as we keep hitting the upper trend line and we're not falling back as far to the downside. So it makes me think that we still could break to the upside looking at the way that this thing is trading. TYX TNX ratio, we are sideways at the moment. We are still at a very low inverted level, and this has a long runway for uninversion is what I'll call it. Bond prices are down. We are still kind of trying to break out of this pattern here. I can back out. I can try it on different time frames, and you can draw this in different areas, and it's all very close to a potential breakout. So we're in that general area of a potential breakout, and we're right on top of that trend line. If bond prices break to the upside, that means yields are heading lower. If we break lower, that means yields are going up and bond prices are going down. Looking at the candlesticks, I would be looking for a move up. So lower yields, higher bond prices. 2 and 10, we're still inverted. We just have a small down day today, and it's still at this inverted state where we've stayed inverted up here. When we uninvert, look at the 1% level. That's where we could potentially get problems or a recession, is when we break below the 1% level. Gold down 14 bucks, higher rates. So we have higher rates, higher dollar. And that's going to weigh on everything that is interest rate sensitive and things that are priced in dollars. So gold priced in dollars pulled back roughly what the dollar went up. So we're down 0.58%. The dollar was up 0.43%. This still looks good though. We've got momentum up, small down candlesticks. They're not big, heavy, weighing, selling pressure candlesticks. So still looking for a move higher. Silver down 1.26%. Looks like it's doing a retest of the breakout down here. That 29.50-ish level maybe. Platinum down 2.75%. This is more of an inflation sensitive asset, and it could be impacted in a negative way if the market does slow down here. But we're still underneath that trend line. And palladium down over 3%. We could be heading back to the $900 trend line, that long-term trend line. So GDX down a little bit, about 1.5%. Still looks good on the weekly. It's a bloody nose candlestick, still could head higher. GDXJ down a little bit. We're right on support. There we are, using that support level at 46.66. And that's what it looks like longer term. We'd like to see a clear break out of here over that resistance level. And then SILJ down 3%, but still looks good. Still looks good to work its way on up over time. We've got XAU to gold ratio down a little bit today, 1.3%. And we are still A-OK everywhere else. We've got the downtrend line break here, and everything looks good to work its way on up. So patience is what makes you money, and everything looks intact. Crude oil, it wasn't really down 2.5%. I think it's because when they roll over, it gets amplified. So I'm just going to use U.S. oil for today. It was down about 1%. And when looking at this, there we are, and we're squeezing. Yeah, we're squeezing on up on this guy here. And it does look like we're trying to break out of this trend line, however you want to draw it in here. And we'll see if we break out of it. There is the possibility that we sell off, get a downward move into the 60s, which is possible. Doing another retest down here before heading higher. And that would be the yield curve uninverting, people getting scared, fear in the market, selling pressure, all that stuff. Not really demand destruction. TTF up 1.76, right underneath resistance, trying to break to the upside. And then natural gas in America up 2.9, but momentum still to the downside. No reversal candlestick yet for natural gas in America. And we're at $2, which is pretty cheap area. Boy, XOP, yeah, you know me, barely down. And this is what we want to see. We want to see this holding up in a weak market because we saw a lot of selling pressure across the board. We're above support, which is the neckline, and everything is holding together at the moment. Now, if we continue to see weakness across the board, this will weigh on the sector, and we could get yanked down with the overall markets. Keep that in mind. It was good today. It's holding on, but the overall markets could have an impact. OIH is also holding on. It looks really good still. Lots of upside momentum. And if the markets continue to sell off, it could weigh on this as well. Newcastle coal futures up about 0.9%. I think this looks really good for a move higher. Looks really, really good. This is exactly what I like to see here. It's a setup that came from an upper portion down to support. That's support level. Your support level in here came on down, broke the downtrend line, squeezed up a little bit, and now looks good to break higher. So coal looks pretty good. Now, nat gas is super cheap, so we'll see if coal has any sort of room to run to the upside. It's prefaced with uranium trust. It looks pretty weak here. We are breaking this support level here, and we'll have to see if there's any follow through. Sometimes this is a false breakout, and then it reverses and slingshots to the upside. With the yield curve located where it's at, with the overall market selling off, that I'm seeing in some of it, and it's not a big sell-off yet, but it could turn into one. I would be patient here and see what direction this goes. If we continue to see selling pressure, we could go quite a bit lower. URA breaking through its support level, not looking too good at the moment. These are pretty large candlesticks to the downside. They also are accelerating from opening and closing prices. They're getting pretty big. So that momentum is intensifying. It's not slowing down. So we could see this sell off further to the downside for URA. URNM is also getting some selling pressure here in the short term, and that could continue. Momentum's definitely to the downside, and URNJ also selling off. And one thing that is a little bit concerning is we've come on up. We've created the trend line. We've broken the trend line to the downside. We did a retest, and we are heading lower. And this could continue lower for the immediate future here. And we are starting to break through that. So we are making a new low underneath this support level. And this technically is a new downtrend. For URNJ, or URA, that's probably could get going here, and URNM. Copper getting sold off. It looks like it's starting to leach into just about everything. We're back at this support level, roughly speaking, and we'll see if that holds in the short term. And we still have this big breakout of the pattern before it too, which can act as support. COPX also selling off, and it does look like we could get a little bit lower here with the support and break through it because we have a lot of downside momentum. So lots of selling pressure. Iron ore holding on strong, just moving sideways. Still looks okay. We've got aluminum, which continues to head lower and still looks like that momentum is still there. That hasn't turned yet. Nickel's still heading lower, and that looks like it will continue for a little while. Lower, lower, lower. And then we've got Mu down 1%. That's right at that resistance area. Could be doing a retest. This looks like one of the strongest areas. Energy and fertilizers look the strongest of the bunch that I've looked at so far. Emerging markets down. It's got stronger dollar, stronger yields. So that could head lower depending on where yields go. A little bit more of a stronger selling pressure day to day. KRE also selling off a little bit today. It's not necessarily a reversal candlestick. It could be, but this is from a monster move to the upside here, where I think the markets are expecting a potential decline in interest rates. We've got TAN down, stronger yield, stronger dollar, which is going to be down for lithium, and it's going to be down for rare earth metals, as they are all leveraged to lower interest rates. And this could head lower in the short term for all those. Baltic Dry Index going back to support here. We're almost there. Let me back out just a little bit. We've got support all underneath us with a whole bunch of different trend lines, and it looks like it's heading back there. XHB surprisingly up a little bit today. It does look like we are losing a little bit of that momentum with the big wick at the top. That is a reversal candlestick where you head up and then sell off throughout the day. So momentum's to the downside. But that's what we're seeing there. We've got Russell 2000 heading a little bit lower. Could be coming back to the support level down here at 2140. So that's what we're seeing there for the Russell 2000. We've got the S&P 500 down about 0.8%. Be interesting to see if this accelerates to the downside or if it holds. Same with the NASDAQ. We've got our bearish engulfing pattern there, here, here, and they're start to stack on up over each other. It's downside selling pressure as this thing goes up, and eventually it will crack and probably sell off. SMCI selling off a little bit, but still within this pattern here. We entered it from the top side down. It'll probably spill out to the downside is my guess. But decent candlestick today. It's holding on. NVIDIA up a little bit. We have these ugly looking bearish engulfings here, which makes me think we want to go lower. But there was an onslaught of bearish engulfings over here too, and I'm surprised it worked its way on up to where it is. Bitcoin down a little bit. It's still holding on. Doesn't look like a lot of selling pressure, at least not yet. And then Ethereum up a little bit and still looks good to work its way on up until we see something otherwise. But that's what we've got for today, guys. So give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website. We still have Mayday coupon that is active. M-A-Y-D-A-Y, one word. And that's all I've got. We've got a question and answer session coming up on Saturday, 7 a.m. Mountain Time. See you guys there with whatever questions you got. And that's all I've got for today, guys. So we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.